can't sit still and keep a straight face, so I just awkwardly laugh. Oh, good. I thought we were going to get the intro.
Oh my gosh. Hello, everyone. I can't see it on my screen. So welcome to Straight from the Strip. I'm Minty Bets. I have here with me Kelly Stewart. Give her a follow on Twitter at Kelly in Vegas, and Gianni the Greek Gambler. Follow him on Twitter at Greek_Gambler. If you guys are new to the show, welcome. We basically do Q&As here ranging from sports betting to what life is like here in Vegas, and also questions about us in general. A lot of topics got covered in the last 2 episodes, but we can really talk about anything again. So please, if you have anything to ask, feel free to shoot us some questions on the WagerTalk Twitter, and we'll try our best to get them answered for next week's episode. Before we begin, Kelly, you posted something this morning about your proxy service doing a free giveaway, and the winner of this gets to enter for free to a football contest of their choice, and they get free proxy service as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we're trying to figure out kind of what's going on. Obviously, navigating the space right now can be a little difficult, but from all things that we're hearing, looks like football season's going to be a go. Fingers crossed. Hopefully everything is started on time. That being said, the proxy service, I do think that people are going to be a little hesitant to come out to Vegas and things of that nature. Right. Hopefully we get the all clear and everybody's good to travel, etc. So what we decided to do is run a promotion. Obviously, March Madness is one of our busier times. So right now we said, hey, you know what? There is no March Madness. It would have been the national championship game. It would have been awesome, but that's okay. We're going to move forward and we're going to do some awesome stuff for either my Twitter followers, past proxy customers, or any potential new clients. Basically, we put together the only thing that you can really bet on right now outside of UFC, which I'll let VR get to in a little bit. But basically what we're going to do is you're going to pick 20 different draft questions. So it may be, is 2 going to be drafted over under 4.5 rounds, things of that nature. And the winner gets a free entry of their choice. And then obviously we'll proxy for them for free as well. So we've seen other companies do contests and stuff in the past, but we're going to basically let our winner choose which contest they want to enter, because there are 4 really awesome contests here in Las Vegas. We've kind of talked about those last week. If you guys have any more questions, you guys can always tweet at the proxy service at KIV proxy service. So lots of awesome stuff going on, and hopefully we can give away maybe a free entry now and then maybe do another couple more fun ones during the summertime.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Follow at KIV proxy service for updates and a link to enter that contest too, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's a link on my Instagram page. There's a link pinned to the top of my Twitter. And my girlfriend just texted me, hey, I entered. I was bored. And she goes, I didn't even know who half those people were. And I go, well, thank you. God. And I'm going to die laughing if it's somebody that knows nothing about sports. It took me about 30 minutes to go through it. But that's because I'm super diligent. And I'm like, okay, I want to look at this mock draft, and I want to look at this, and I want to hear what these experts are saying, and look at these projections. And especially, you can see now, we saw Caesars release some draft props early on. We saw some of the East Coast sportsbooks, some of the offshores, and so you can really see where the market's moved. And I think people are kind of taking their time trying to figure out. I mean, we're talking, this is basically a free $1,500 entry plus a $250 proxy service. So it's like giving out $1,700.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a good thing. Yes, absolutely. And next thing I want to briefly discuss, Gianni, UFC 249 is coming next Saturday, April 18th. We're so excited. We have to thank Dana White for this. Thank you, Lord. So I know you have who you like for this weekend already. So tell us about the package you have up on WagerTalk for this fight.
Honestly, I couldn't wait for them to announce that 249's official, because I've been doing a bunch of radio segments and everyone's been asking me. And, because I work with the company, hoping I have some kind of information. And I would say I don't have any inside information. But what I do know, having worked for this company for a couple years and watching the UFC explode, while everyone is focusing on the problems, I can promise you Dana White's focusing on a solution. That's just what he's always done. He couldn't get on the ESPN or Fox, so he went to Spike TV. And eventually it blew up and it went to Fox and then ESPN. That's just what they do. And I know they're going to get a lot of negativity from, the guys that are saying you're not going to.
They're getting negativity from their own.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Any question that these journalists and media think they have, I can promise you that Dana White and his team have already addressed it. The fact that they didn't pick up the phone and call you to give you their plans isn't reason for you to write a bunch of shit saying about how you're going to protect the fighters, how you're going to do this, how you're going to do that, how you're going to do this, and how you're going to do that. The guy's just been trying to focus on a solution since then. Listen, we could all hide in our houses forever and wait this out. That's not, like, no one's going to actually do that.
You know what I would look like if I had to hide in my house for another 30
That's what I'm saying, Kelly.
My lashes are outgrown.
The talk of there may not be football at Thanksgiving, like a legislator from California was saying. You know, you can't just hide away. And what confuses is you tell people it's okay, go to the supermarket, even though half my neighborhood's in there. Everyone's touching stuff. Everyone's near each other. How's it okay for me to go to the supermarket, but it's not okay for me to go to my job where there's only 2 other employees, or, you know, something like that? So that's where the contradictions. So I love what the UFC's done. They said, listen, we're going to go forward. We're going to look for solutions. And when we find them, we'll be able to put on a show. Obviously, they found them because come 249 is here. I fired away right away. One bet that I knew immediately the line was going to move, and it's already moved 30% in our favor. So placed a good bet, whether it wins or loses. And I fired another one today. And I'm just going to look to take advantage of that market. And that's what I was telling bettors. You know, don't get involved in esports and all that. I get it. If you want to gamble, have a little action.
I want you to know I am 5-2 in Russian table tennis.
That's awesome. Yeah, do that and have some action. But you're smart enough to know how much of your bank you're going to invest in that. You know what I mean? That
it's all BS. I mean,
it's
these
fun,
things,
it's gambling a little bit.
That I've talked about with other people. You guys, this is for fun. Me betting my coworker, who maybe to him $40 means something, to me it means I'm going to get a pizza delivered to my house. Like, everybody's different, right? Like, I'm not betting nickels and dimes on esports. Like, people need to realize that there is still a discipline here. Yes, it's funny for me to throw $100 down on a guy that's plus 245 in table tennis, and when it loses, but it closed at minus or plus 220, like, I'm happy about it. I feel like it was a good bet. I read the market well.
Yeah, I throw away $1,800 parlays all the time. And even when I hit one, it's funny. I hit one like a year ago. I hit like 2 or 3 UFC parlays on the same night, and it was a big score. But I'm like, I'm still down lifetime betting parlays. Like, I'm not ahead. I already know that going in. But that's my gambling. That's my entertainment. That's my action.
Hey, to me, if you've ever been to a local bar with Mr. Ralph Michaels, that is way more degenerate. Putting that money into a machine, I would much rather put it on a 3-team money line parlay.
I agree.
I like Keno, okay? And I recently learned video poker, and they were fun. And I've actually done really well. So maybe I just got lucky, but I get where you're
That's how they get you, Minty, right out of the gate.
They get me. And then they give me a free beer. And then I have to stay for 2 hours to finish the one beer.
What I'm interested in seeing if this UFC card attracts a ton of betting action from fans that aren't UFC fans. I think it's gonna. And I think as a bettor, you need to approach the market knowing that this is going to be a different landscape than your normal UFC.
Okay, so if you think it's going to be a different landscape, the market's going to move differently. Now, someone like me, you just mentioned you have 2 plays. One's already moved 30%.
I'll tell you now. Let's kill the secret. Anyone that's pissed that they bought it already, I'm going to put a lot of stuff in there. So you're not missing out by me sharing this with everyone. I'll tell you now, I bet Tony Ferguson immediately. He opened minus 165. I bet him minus 165. I bet him at minus 170. And I've comfortably bet him up to minus 200 easily. And there's still some out there.
He's minus 180 at Caesars. Now, here was my question for you, VR. So Justin, is it Gaethje?
Gaethje, yeah.
I always heard these guys' names. The point being is he's now plus 160. What I've learned from John Murray when it comes to MMA bettors is come Saturday morning when all those MMA bettors go up to the window or go to make their bets, they're all wanting to bet on the dog.
The dog, yeah.
So my question is, do you think we're going to see some buyback because there's going to be an abnormal amount of public betting the UFC right now?
Great question, Kelly, because I do think this fight has that potential of the line coming back down. The reason I got involved right away is because I said at 160 up to minus 200, I think I'm making a very, very good bet. And at 165 and 170, I thought I'm making a fantastic bet. Now, if it goes below that, I could have got better, but I think I'm still good at 165, 170. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it'll come back, but I don't think it'll happen until after. Like, I could see this going through 200, going up to a minus 220, minus 230 favorite, and then coming back down on fight night, maybe back down to that 180, 170 range, where it opened. Well, I just want to
kind of keep an eye on it. I just don't want to lay 180. That's just not my style. We've kind of talked about that before.
Right,
so I'm kind of just trying to figure out. It hurts my soul, Minty. That's where baseball loses me too. It's hard for me.
Then stick with it. I know some guys in baseball that do well that won't bet favorites over 150. And then I see betting syndicates that bet lay minus 200 comfortably without any problem at all. They do it all the time. So it's a different approach. They're two different strategies, but as long as you stick to it, like if you're not comfortable laying chalk, don't ever lay it.
And I've gotten a lot better about it over the years and realized, hey, this is where this mathematically makes sense. Right. It's fine. We've seen it with Floyd Mayweather historically. We saw it with Khabib versus Conor. I would have never in a million years laid that with Khabib. But I was that comfortable and that confident. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So that's where my curiosity was, is as far as pricing, when we're looking at MMA fights, specifically in this time, if there really is going to be a flood of money to the marketplace, because that's one of the only things to bet on besides NASCAR racing or whatever the hell they're calling it, Russian table tennis and Belarus soccer. I mean, we have slim pickings right now. I think you're absolutely right. I think Dana did the right thing. And as long as he is protecting everyone that's going to be there, as well as the fighters know what their risks are, and they've chosen to have those risks as they do each and every time they step in the ring, I'm totally on board with it. I just want to make sure that I'm not outpricing myself when I go to make some of these bets.
Yeah. I think Tony Ferguson's a great bet. It really is. Anything at minus 200 or less, Kelly, I think you're getting a ton of value. The true implied win should be much higher in his case. That's why I bet it right away. And it moved in that way. We'll see what happens.
I'll keep an eye on it over the next couple of days and see what we can get with it come Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Gianni, you said you uploaded that already on WagerTalk, and you're going to have a couple more.
Yeah, I fired 2 bets already. I'll have a handful more for sure, and then the props as well. I love betting props, the over-under on rounds, and how the fight finishes. So there'll be so much stuff in there. That's why most guys never get pissed when I give stuff out for free on Twitter or whatever, because I give volume.
So much more. Right.
You have 8 plays in your package, and I give 1 for free. Why would you get pissed? You know what I mean? If they are, Johnny, give them back their $12, man. I don't care.
Awesome.
Johnny's like in the comments like, VR, shut up.
All right, guys, check out Gianni's UFC package on WagerTalk. You guys can head over to the short link, wt.buzz/VR. You can add his UFC package right there on that link, his UFC 249 all-access package. Now, let's get into some questions from our viewers and listeners. First question here is, name some of the biggest mistakes you've made early in your betting career, and if you could do one thing differently in your gambling career, what would it be, Kelly?
Wow, great question.
Oh, it is a great question. Right? I have to try to think of probably, I made a lot of mistakes. So biggest is interesting. I would say the biggest mistake I made early on was not practicing good bankroll management. I would have a great morning. Let's say I had 11 games on my college football card. It's a monster college football Saturday, right? And I go 6-0, 7-1, something up until like I had a ton of morning games, right? Next thing you know, we've been drinking in the sports book all day, me and my buddies, and I'm on fire. And all of a sudden, here I am. It's 11 p.m. and I'm betting 4 times what my normal bet would be on the Hawaii game because I'm looking for action. I'm trying to have fun. And you know, again, you've been drinking all day and you've been doing those things. And I think that's why people don't realize I do say this, and there's a lot of jokes behind why I don't really like to watch in the sports book, but it also involves drinking. Like, I love to have a good time. I love to drink. I enjoy hanging out with my friends, but I do notice those degenerate tendencies do come to play when alcohol says, that's okay, go ahead. You're having a great day. Where if I'm stone sober, I'm not going to go do that. I'm not going to go up to the window. You know, these apps make it a lot easier to do degenerate things. But I'm not going to sit there on my app. I'm not going to chase games, things like that. I would say that that's the thing that was the hardest for me to learn was bankroll management. And since I have learned that, life has been so much better. I cannot stress that any further. I mean, I was working at a nightclub. Minty, you were in that industry as well. You know how the cash, it just comes and it goes. It comes and it goes.
Comes and it goes. When you lose it, you'll get it back the next night. Like, no issue.
And that's my attitude. It's like, well, I had a bad day. It's okay. I'm going to go to work today. Or, man, I had a great day. I'm still going to go to work, and now I'm going to have even more money for NFL Sunday. And it's not how it works. You really have to stay disciplined, and I think VR can attest to that. Another big mistake I made, overthinking. I really think that at the end of the day, and I tell people this, the math is the math. And I don't try to mess with it too much. I don't over adjust for little things, and I don't over adjust for emotional things. I think sports bettors can be way too emotional, and the public perception of things can tend to skew what they're betting. Here's the math. Here's the situation. And however you fuse it together, it is what it is. And as VR always says, is if I bet Minnesota +7 and it closes 5.5 or whatever it ended up closing against Penn State, and Minnesota gets backdoored and Penn State somehow covers that spread or whatever ends up happening in that type of scenario, I still made a good bet. I got closing line value. That is something I had to really learn. Now, I'm not like all the geeks on Twitter that are like, CLV. I don't care that much because at the end of the day, I want to win. But at a point in time, you have to learn that making better bets is the correct way to do it, as opposed to you got really lucky and that's how you won that one. And when I do my spreadsheets, I really should share with everyone how I do it. They're very basic because I hate Excel. I hate it. I want to throw my computer out the window.
I hate Excel.
I always have, here's what the team name I bet. Here's the line I got. Here's where the line closed. And here's how I won or lost the bet. And I think that if you go back through and you print those out and you highlight, did I win this on a last-second buzzer beater? Did I win this on a last-second missed field goal? Did some crazy touchdown happen where the coach was supposed to take a knee and the running back ran it up the gut and scored? I mean, there are things like that you have to take into account to learn and to become better each and every day. So I would say some of those are the biggest mistakes I've had to like brush off the ego and start to actually sit back and learn what it takes to be a winning sports bettor.
Interesting. Okay, now, if there's one thing you could do differently in your gambling career, what would it be? Like now?
Ooh, probably not be so mouthy on Twitter and piss so many people off.
Yeah, you need your phone taken away sometimes.
I can't help myself. I'm a very vocal, I'm a very opinionated person. I just want to say whatever I want to say all the time. And that's unfortunately a really good way to piss off half of the people that are following you.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Gianni, what is one mistake you've made early on in your betting career, and what is one thing you would do differently in your gambling career now?
The biggest mistake, and I won't go long because Kelly covered it beautifully, and I think every sports bettor has to face this, and every winning sports bettor already has, because they're not a winning sports bettor if they haven't figured that part out, and that is money management. Because I say it all the time, I'm the perfect example. I was a runner on the strip at a time where our edge was so great, and I still managed to go broke multiple times. I lost multiple bankrolls. I had to pick up jobs like bartending and this and that to make money because I managed to lose with winning information. And the reason for that was I had no discipline on how you win long term, meaning you could be a mathematical certainty to go broke even if you're an 80% capper, if you bet incorrectly. And we know nobody's an 80% capper on the planet. But even if you could hit 80% of your bets, You can still go broke if you bet wrong. And I think that's the key. That is the biggest mistake. And that's what took me the longest to figure out how to bet a small portion of my bankroll so that I'm able to overcome every negative fluctuation, because the storm is coming. No matter how good you are, the storm's coming. So not to harp on money management real quickly, my biggest mistake early on was my arrogance, thinking I know more than I did. Thinking because I watched nothing but sports and Sports Center and read the sports page every day, that was enough for me to overcome laying 11 to win 10, which isn't the case. And it took me a while to realize that and lose my ego, and realizing these guys that put out these lines are very good at what they do. These casinos, these odds makers behind them are even better at what they do. And the way they manage risk is phenomenal. And they've proven that for so many years. So for you to go in there and actually beat that structure is very difficult. And me thinking in Philly, without any of the resources I have now, any of the network I have now, to think back then that I could actually beat these guys, that arrogance was just so foolish. And I deserved to lose my money week after week, the bookmakers back then.
VR, serious question. I have to know, would you do it over again? Would you do it differently? Would you be more disciplined? Or do you really think you had to learn it? Because I feel like I had to lose and be like, wow, this really sucks so bad.
Does that make sense? 100%. It's not in me. I'm not that kind of person. I had to go through the hell. I had to go through losing those bankrolls, being broke, to finally respect money and respect what I'm doing, and realizing, dude, you're either doing this for fun for the rest of your life, and that's going to be your entertainment. Instead of going to bars, instead of going to this, you're just going to bet that money and maybe win once in a while, or you're actually going to use sports betting as an investment vehicle. And if you do that, then every action needs to reflect that. If it doesn't, then I'm just lying to myself. And we all know Kelly's been betting long enough. You've been betting long enough. I've been betting long enough. And most people listening, watching have bet long enough. It's kind of like I always joke, why don't I have a six-pack? I know what I have to do. I can't eat carbs and eat nothing but protein and do nothing but cardio and ab workout to get that. I'm not willing to put myself through that. I'm not willing to be that uncomfortable. And because of that, I'll never have a six-pack. Most people know when they placed a bad bet, and then they're just hoping something good happens. You have to get past that and realize you have to make something good happen. And the only way to do that is to manage your bankroll correctly. And I can't stress that enough. That is the most important thing. And you're 100% right, Kelly. I had to get burned and beaten and slapped around, and that's the price of my education. If I wanted to go be a doctor, I'd owe a couple $100,000 in student loans because my family wasn't rich. So if I became an attorney or a doctor, I'd be in the hole a couple $100,000. Well, was in the hole a couple $100,000 probably before I learned how to win betting sports. That was the price of my education. I got to cut that off and start doing shit the right way. I can't think about that, can't recover that. Now you just got to go forward. You got to wake up one day and say, that's it. Every action I do will reflect a winning sports better, or else do it for fun, bro. And you'll never sweat. You'll never lose sleep. Do it for entertainment. If you're going to do it seriously and put your hard-earned money, at least give yourself an opportunity to win.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, VR. I'm going to touch on one more thing. Sorry, Minty, to cut you off. You mentioned investment vehicle, VR. So during this time, we've seen a lot of guys that are cappers on Twitter giving stock advice, talking about different things, right? So I've got a group of buddies that we chat sports with. Well, right now we're talking stock market stuff. And I happen to look at Red Rock Resorts, and I'm like, you guys, right here, it's like $11. Maybe I'm going to dabble in it here and there, start to learn a little bit about the stock market. And all three of them said, what is wrong with you? It has already tripled from what it was a week and a half ago. And I was like, well, the high was $26. And they're like, Kelly, what are you doing? And it's the exact same thing that I tell them with sports. What are you doing?
Yeah, you don't buy stock. Even if it goes up, you really don't know enough. You don't know how to read their balance sheet. You don't know. I don't. Maybe you do, but I'm just saying.
No, I don't. But
those
right
things.
Though, it's like it's making a bad bet because they're more informed about the stock market than I've ever been,
Exactly.
and I feel that same way about sports. While those guys are very knowledgeable sports bettors, and I respect their opinion, I do feel like I get better information, and it's nice to kind of see it come full circle for them to be like, "Whoa, pump the brakes," because would. If this was a sports bet, there's no way you'd make this. You're late to the party, just like you tell us. If the line comes from 7.5 to 4.5 on a dog, and you're like,
let it go.
Let it go.
Find a better bet. Find a better bet.
Exactly. So you're absolutely right as far as an investment vehicle goes, because I try to treat it like an investment, but to me, it's disposable because my bankroll is over here. It's not in my checking account. It's not. I keep cash separately in apps. And that's it. If it's gone, it's gone. I'm done.
Yeah. And that's last year. You crushed it. You had a winning year, right?
I did have a good year.
Now it's this year. You're trying to win for this year. You're not. If you lost last year, you wouldn't be chasing that. It's a new year. You'd approach it the same way.
You have to keep it separately. You absolutely have to keep it separately, just as if I'm doing with this stock market bankroll, to see how much fun I can have, see if I can learn some things, see if I can pick up a couple bucks. But you're right. There is a big difference between an investment and entertainment.
You said it perfectly with the stock analogy. That was on the money, 100%.
Very good example. Okay, question number 2. As a new bettor, do I have a chance of becoming a long-term winner? And can you recommend some money management techniques for new bettors? I kind of feel like we brushed up on that, but Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, we have talked about it just in general as far as some of these questions. I don't ever want to tell anybody they can't ever be anything. How much time do you have to invest? Who's going to help you? I don't think you can just start reading books and reading the internet and all of a sudden become a winning sports bettor. I think you have to be surrounded by people that really help you in order to do that. And I know it sounds crazy because I say this a lot, but being a female in this industry has made it so much easier because men are more apt to help me. I am not their competition. Here's this female. She knows this about sports. I don't have to teach her about football. She already has got a leg up here. Okay, she understands these concepts. Okay, great. She's got numbers that she's working with over here. And I was able to have probably 5 or 6 really sharp guys be able to kind of guide me. And do I listen all the time? Absolutely not. If I would have, I probably would have been a lot better off. That being said, there's a lot of different things that go into it. So yeah, I would say if you have someone that's able to help you, if you have strong discipline and you have a very willingness to learn, I would say, like I told you, Minty, when we first met, I was like, when I first got into this, I was a sponge and I just took everything I could go and get and just started going from there. And I think that it made my life easier because I did have so many people willing to help me. I wasn't like starving for information. Like, how do I figure this out? I could just send out a text message or pick up the phone and kind of go from there. So I do think the ability is there. But I do also think you have to be willing to put in the time. Like VR said, like he's got a doctorate in sports betting. So if you're willing to put in 8 to 10 years so that you can perform surgery against the sports books, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Gianni?
I could not agree more. And I'm the one that's always telling almost the negative Nancy or whatever, the Debbie Downer, where I keep telling people how hard it is to win. And I do it out of love, man, because I don't want to see decent people lose money. They don't have to, because I did it. And if you know what I mean? I don't want to see a guy that works his ass off all week and has a family to lose money to their bookmaker trying to beat 11 to 10 when we both know you have no shot because of all those other responsibilities you have in your life. So it's very difficult. But yes, you can win as a sports bettor. My advice to you, and honestly, is ignore 99% of everything out there for sports bettors. And the reason for that is it's been written and comes from losing sports bettors. If we all know that 99% of bettors lose, let's not believe that 1% that wins is pushing out all that content. All that content's coming from the 99% that loses, and some of it's coming from the 1% that actually wins. If you could hunt that down and differentiate whose advice you should listen to, whose you shouldn't, you have a shot. Because like they say, garbage in, garbage out. You know, if you don't know what to look at, it doesn't matter then. You know, I mean, if the information, if it's not predictive, then it's just nonsense what you're talking about. So I would say, yes, you can be a winning sports bettor, but you're going to have to pretty much learn that on your own from putting in the work, the years, and reach out. There are some people out there that win that can help you. But again, you're going to have to be the one to take the knocks and figure this stuff out. My advice I would urge you, instead of watching SportsCenter, instead of reading preview magazines, instead of listening to sports radio all day, take computer classes, learn to create models, learn to create algorithms. Maybe you'll come up with one piece of data factored into the money, into the price. One proprietary thing you may figure out, but watching SportsCenter and all that stuff ain't going to give it to you, because anything that's in that preview mag, anything that's on SportsCenter has already been factored into the betting line. So don't waste your time with all that, because that's for entertainment. So if you're an entertainment bettor, read the shit out of those magazines and argue with your buddy about who's going to win the Super Bowl, or you can. But if you're doing it for money, that ain't the way.
See, I always tell people this, VR, those SportsCenter, I watch SVP and that's it. Because I don't want the talking heads. It's the same thing if you're watching the news right now. What's going to happen? It's going to fill your head with all sorts of different things. Plus you have your own thoughts, and it's going to kind of manipulate you into thinking things you might not have normally thought. And I tell people this all the time. I do not watch sports shows. I have so many friends that have funny sports shows, and I'll catch clips here and there on Twitter, and I try to support them, but I cannot and will not watch them, because I do not want someone to manipulate something in my head. I don't want to read something that says, oh, this is this, and all of a sudden now I start to buy into the BS. I did a thing with Bleacher Report, because I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary with them. Like, here's what we have for year 2. Here's what we got. And I literally have notes right here. I wrote them all down, color coded them on things. And I said, hey, this is what I need from you guys for as far as like where I'm going forward. I need a few more hours a week so that I can work harder on my numbers, so that I can work harder on these games, because unfortunately they do want to talk about the New England Patriots every week. They want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs every week. And when you're giving out those type of games, those are the tightest lines. Like, sure, nobody wants me to give out South Alabama plus, 17.5. It's not a fun game for people to watch, ULL play, but it doesn't matter. If you can find an edge, that's what matters. And I think that's the thing. And you mentioned like the predictive magazines, VR, I buy a couple of those. I really do like those deals.
I do too, Kelly.
But I only use those. I don't use his numbers. I only use those so that I can see who is an anticipated starting quarterback, so I can learn about the backups. I mean, how else are you going to learn about some of these kids that he maybe a 4-star in high school, and now he sat on the bench for 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, you have to kind of get refreshed, and it's easy to do a cheat sheet. I don't have mine with me because I've already thrown away, but ask Minty. I even like tab them based on conferences so that I can flip to it and be like, okay, cool. Skylar Thompson's hurt from K-State. These are the 2 possible backups. Let me text somebody, see what they think. Okay, cool. Now, let me ask Kenny White over at Don Best. Kenny, what's the drop-off between these 2 quarterbacks? Hey, what are your thoughts on this? When we thought about Jeff Driscoll for the Lions last year, I didn't know Jeff Driscoll was the 3rd-string quarterback, but you know who did? The stupid prediction magazine that I had from the bookstore, so that I could flip through and be like, oh, okay. This is where it is. And then I was able to figure out, okay, cool, this is a 5-point drop-off. Well, the market's now moved 7 points. What's wrong here? And I think so those things are good, but do not let them manipulate your thought process.
And think that they're going to give you the edge alone to beat the books. It's good for references and to go deeper and dive into things like Kelly said, team players, little background stuff.
Ken Palm's great. I've used Ken Palm. It's the best $20 you can spend.
I agree.
It is.
But every single bookmaker uses it as well.
So
there's
you
no
can't
edge.
Follow their data.
Yeah, exactly. You use their data. You can learn who their backups are. You can learn different things about teams. You can look at their, ATS value on the road versus at home, but you cannot go off their prediction models, because why would you, if the book has 6.5 and Ken Palm says his team wins by 7, you're giving maybe a half point edge. why would you do that? It's not enough for me to make a bet, but I do think that there's good data out there and there's good information out there. The key is, how do you use it? How do you either manipulate it or use certain bits and pieces of it for your own model? Like VR said, like we kind of joked about, I know some kids that are in high school that I'm related to, and my boyfriend's like, can we teach them how to code? Can we teach them how to build algorithms?
That's what these kids value.
All these kids grew up with computers. They all know way more about computers than any of us do, because they've literally had them their entire lives. So if we could teach them how to do things and build something, I mean, it's huge. I couldn't even begin to build an algorithm. I tried with a group of guys from K-State back in the day, and my head just wanted to explode.
But that's good. You realize it's not something you're good at. It's not something you're going to get good at. So find someone that excels in it and try to trade or share or buy their share. Exactly.
Trade information. Like I said so many times on the WagerTalk shows, why would I try to spend 30 hours a week working on my own numbers when I've got 4 different people around me at all different times that each have their own different numbers? Well, it just doesn't make sense, especially when the sportsbook, they're not the end all be all number. And yes, you can find an edge here and there, but their numbers are their numbers. The math is the math. I'm looking for more of that situation behind it. Why do I think Minnesota is going to beat the Penn State of the world? How is K-State as a 21-point underdog going to beat Oklahoma? No, I did not predict that, but I did take them plus 21. And then my buddy Nick was like, you better take them on the money line. I'm like, they're not going to win this game. Fine. And of course they did. But those are the kind of things that your model's not going to come up with that. Your model's not going to say that a 21-point underdog is going to win. Those are situational things that you have to be able to find and pick and choose throughout the season.
Definitely. Okay, guys. We might not get through all the questions, but
you don't say. I haven't shut up this whole video.
No, it's okay.
I love it.
We'll save it for the next episode. Can long-term losing pick sellers still offer bettors value? Yanni, what do you think?
That's a great question.
That's a crazy question.
I think they can, because even, like I said, I'm being honest. I wasn't a winning sports bettor until, within the last 7 to 10 years at the most. And I still think I had some value to offer prior to that, from experiences, from mistakes that I made. And I still had a decent network. And I also think that a losing capper doesn't necessarily mean he's losing at every sport. I mean, there's some guys that are very good at a particular sport, if not experts, and able to beat it. And their mistake is not just sticking to it, because they got to make a living year round. And if they're only doing WNBA and they're beating WNBA, it's hard to just make a living selling WNBA. So what happens is this guy's got to give out football and other basketball and baseball. So those sports are killing his profit from a sport he could actually beat. And that's the mistake too many pick sellers make.
You're absolutely right, VR.
They become competent at beating a particular sport or a particular conference, and rather than stick to that and just beat the hell out of it over and over and making yourself so valuable to people that want that info, they spread themselves too thin and try to beat every sport. And it's hard enough to beat one if you're a one-man show, let alone all of them. So yes, a losing long-term pick seller can offer you value if they've proven to be able to beat that one sport. And then it's on you to ignore everything else he says.
Mm-hmm. Super true. Okay, next question. You've always said, treat it like a business and it'll pay you like a business. What do you mean when you say that, Yanni?
Oh.
Sorry.
No, that's the mantra. Honestly, I've tried to live by. And it's like I said, just being honest with yourself and looking in the mirror and saying, is every action I'm doing a reflection to reach that goal? Like I said, the 6-pack. No, I had oatmeal this morning, or I had a bagel this morning. No, I'm not. That doesn't reflect getting a 6-pack. So no, I'm not doing those things, even though I may be eating healthy. And it's the same with sports betting. If I'm willing to put in that bet just because, who cares, the bad number, but I'm going to watch it on TV. It's the wrong thing. So now you're just hoping for good luck. So, but if you treat it like a business, that's the only way it's ever going to pay you like a business. If you treat it like entertainment and recreation, it's going to cost you like entertainment and recreation, and going knowing that. So you can A business could make you money, but you got to treat it like that every single day. And the last point on that is, what is your business worth? And what I mean is, if I start my bankroll with $1,000, what should my business be able to make this year? Because what business can you open with $1,000? What do you expect it to make? Or if a $10,000 bankroll, what am I happy with? Am I happy with, if I start with 10 grand, making 2,000 for this year? Or if I start with $1,000 bankroll, am I happy trying to make $200 this year? Because 20% return is pretty freaking good. I mean, if I could get that from my stockbroker every single year, I wouldn't work anymore if I knew it's going to get 20% on my capital every year, but I'm not sure of it. So that's why we all bust our asses. So again, I think you need to be practical. And if you start your business with $1,000, don't expect to make $5 grand your first year. What business can you open that's going to do that? So, just think logically, man. And again, treat it like a business. It'll pay you like a business.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have something to say, Kelly?
Bits to say something.
No,
Give it to her.
No.
I want to hear it. I
was just gonna say, preach, VR. You're absolutely right. I mean, like, I look at businesses that my friends right now. A lot of small businesses are hurting, right? And I was talking to my girlfriend that owns a gym, and she's now on this gym for 2 years, and she goes, "Man, it sucks so bad because this is our first month. We're going to turn a profit out of 28 months." But that's the point. When you open a business, they put in $100,000, and this is the first month, 28 months. It's going to take them.
That's on pace, because most businesses, if you could make your money back in 3 years, you're doing a hell of a job.
Which is why you get it right off.
2.5, it's even better.
That's why you get right off for 3 years.
Yeah,
3 years, you get it right off. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's where I think a lot of people don't think business minded. You have to treat this like, no, you're not going to turn $1,000 bankroll. And if you turn $1,000 bankroll into $1,500 at the end of the season, go out, take your $500 and celebrate. Celebrate.
That's the point, man. That's keeping it in perspective and being honest with the people watching, man. Because I could tell you this is easy, and I have locks, and all you got to do is follow me, and you never have to work again. It's all fucking nonsense, dude. That's not how it is. If it was that easy, no one would go to work. We'd all just bet sports.
Yes,
why would anyone
that's the
work?
goal. Except I'm working too much. You guys,
okay,
if
perfect.
I bet table tennis every day, we're good. I just hit another.
Oh my God, Kelly, no.
I laid 160 with this guy. Well, I've been talking to a couple different guys. If you can just read the market in some of these sports, I can't pronounce these Russian guys' names. I cannot. All I've been doing is reading the market. I swear to God. And I just refreshed. I was like, what? What did I win? Oh, I didn't win that much because I laid 160.
Yeah. Well, everyone has a method. Okay, next question is from @DieHardMMA Pod. For everybody, what is your favorite sport to bet on, regardless of win percentage? Kelly, I think yours is college football.
Everybody already knows this, right? Yes. I mean, it's absolutely college football. Of course it is. College football is one of my favorite things. We keep seeing these stupid memes, like pick 1 through 9. It's like, what would you get rid of?
I love those. Okay.
Of course. Then we just all argue with each other. No, of course. College football is one. 1A is college basketball. And the NFL was good to me this year. I went on a nice run. I crashed and burned during the playoffs, which really pissed me off, but that's another side story. But yeah, college football, leaps and bounds over everything else.
Okay, Gianni.
If I can only bet one sport and no other, it would be baseball, only because I think that's the greatest. That's the greatest edge. It's every day. They play 180 plus games.
I agree. I totally agree.
I think that's the market you could. I would feel most comfortable that I could continue making a living year after year. The one I love betting the most, bar none, is combat sports. I enjoy it because I'm doing the handicapping. 75-80% of the work is my own. The picks, like the 2 I gave out already, they're mine. No one gave me a buy order for it. If I'm wrong, I only have myself to blame. And so for me, it's so enjoyable. And I don't want to give everyone out there, all those sharp guys coming into it, but it's a soft market. Not to knock MMA fans, but it's a very soft market compared to the others. You know, there's a lot of bettors that don't have a ton of experience, and there's more casual and entertainment bettors than there are serious winning bettors. And anytime that's the market composition, you're going to find a ton of value. And it's just that kind of market, just not liquid enough for you to do every single day and not enough action to do every single day. That's why I said baseball.
Yes, I agree. My favorite sport to bet on is also baseball. There's so many ways you can win with baseball, and it's just on every day. There's so many games, like you said, so many. So I agree with you on baseball.
It's so hard for me, you guys. In baseball, I will go to a baseball game and I will bet on it and I will have fun and I will drink beers and it will be awesome. Baseball hurts my soul. I've read Trading Bases. I have talked to Dave Koken on 100 million occasions about helping with my baseball handicapping, and I finally realized all it does is hurt my college football bankroll. That's all it does. 3 months of just downtime. I need that 3 months, and now I'm probably going to be betting baseball all summer long, but I need that time to get ready for college football and to be focused on my number one sport for myself. And so that's why I say that about baseball. But don't get me wrong.
Realizing that is a perfect reflection of cross out. The fact that you just said that baseball costs your bankroll, so you don't take it seriously enough to invest in it with your money because it's going to cost you. That is when you've crossed that line and you're actually betting for profit and not betting for action. And if you're betting serious money or hard-earned money, that's how you should approach it. So that's awesome that you said that. Seriously, that's a great takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
It's the same reason why I've learned to not start college basketball until the conferences start. I don't do well trying to do NFL, college basketball, and college football. All it does is hurt. You cannot excel, at least for me, I cannot excel at 3 separate sports at a time. I just don't have the time. I don't have the energy. And I've really learned that college basketball, starting it basically like end of December, early January, has been the best, and push all the way through March. It's just one of those things. It does take time for you to learn that, though.
Why make it harder than it needs to be? That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm only going to ask like 2 more questions. So do you guys watch all the games you bet on, and should you watch as much sports as possible? We kind of covered this. I like to watch the games that I bet on just because I like the stress and I like to see how, coaches play against certain teams and certain, time and location and players and stuff like that. And I have to say that it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary to watch every game because, Gianni, I know that you don't watch every game. And you said it multiple times.
Yeah, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it. Me, Kelly, and Marco on the set before we go on, we laughed about it because I swear to you, and what's funny is I was having a great college basketball and NBA season this year, and I'm not bringing that out to tout because obviously I can't sell you NBA or college basketball, but I was doing very well. I was ahead on both bankrolls. And the reason I bring that up is because I swear to you, I haven't watched this season. I haven't watched 5 minutes of NBA or college basketball. Winning in both, I couldn't name you 10 players in college basketball right now. Honestly, I don't have, I wish I had the time to enjoy it like that. I don't. And I don't think it would help me either. Being a volume bettor that has a bunch of positions every day, I'm not going to watch 12, 15 games and try to get anything out of it. And the final reason I don't is because it's been proven. Eyewitness testimony is the most unreliable. The courts have told us that. So I don't want my eyes to make my mind think they're seeing something that they're not. Because as human beings, we look for patterns that aren't there. And I don't want to be arrogant enough to think that I could watch a 60-minute basketball game and now I'm going to know enough about those 2 teams to now the next day go lay 11-10 and beat these guys. Why waste my time doing it? If you enjoy it, God bless you. Watch every game. I really don't enjoy doing it that much and find it more of a waste of my time and energy than
VR is exactly like so many sharp bettors I know. My boyfriend included. He doesn't care to watch the games. He's like, the results are going to be the same. I'm like,
I wish they could fast forward it. Just give me the final.
That's what he said. He goes, if you sit there and you cheer, you yell at the TV, and you do this and you do that, you actually think it's going to change the outcome of the game? And I'm like, of course,
Kelly, I watched a couple of games with you where we're on the opposite side, and it's so not fun.
Like it happens.
I'm a terrible human being to watch games with.
I'll watch big games like we watched the NCAA tournament together. I watch the Super Bowl. I watch playoffs. I love stuff like that. But what happens is what you just touched on, where you think certain things matter that don't. Atlanta Falcons, New England Patriots, Super Bowl. Falcons have that, 28 whatever point lead at halftime.
Yeah.
Me and my wife go at halftime to pick up food, come back home, see that debacle, okay? We lose our bet because of that. The following year, again, I planned halftime, we'll grab our food. She's like, we ain't leaving the house. Are you kidding me? Don't you remember what happened last year? I swear to God. She's like, we will never go at halftime of a Super Bowl to get food again. Like, that was the reason the Patriots came back. It is funny,
though, because I do think a lot of sports bettors are very superstitious, and I think they have a lot of quirks and they have a lot of things. I'm not, but I've definitely not left the couch. Like, okay, I have to pee really bad, but there's like a minute and a half left. I'm not leaving the couch. Or I've purposely been like, okay, I'm changing my position wherever the hell I'm at. Like we did with the National Championship game. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I like got up and left the booth.
And I believed it. I believed it happening in real time.
I just think that those things are crazy, but they're an anomaly. They don't really matter. And I actually enjoy watching the games, and I do learn from the games. I learn about teams and how hard they play in the first and second halves. I learn about coaching adjustments. And frankly, I love watching sports. So that's kind of the flip side of it. I do enjoy it. Like you said, Minty, sweating your bets and cheering for your bets. Yeah. That kind of part I do enjoy. But I can understand, especially a volume better like VR. What's he going to have 18 TVs on this damn wall and try to watch? It's just at a point. Here's the final score. Okay, cool. You know what? Yep. We went 11-9 today. Money. You know, whatever it is. Like, You made money today, next day, you know, and for me, there's more to it than just that. And also I have to be able to speak on it a lot.
The kind of capper you are though, Kelly, that you have to. You narrow down, you look at more details, you know, not small edges and just keep rolling over your bankroll. You like to isolate bigger edges and do it that way. And I think you do have to follow it a lot more than I do and do the day-to-day stuff. It's just if you do a ton of volume, it's hard to pick all those games and then have time in your day to watch them with next day lines coming out, you know. But for like Kelly, I think it's perfect. And like you said, for your work to be able to speak on it is huge. Yeah. That's why I watch every MMA, every UFC.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so this is going to be the last question because we're running out of time.
I'm still running out of time. I'm already getting a call on my Zoom from Bleacher Report.
Oh, my God. Okay, last question. What's the most beatable table game in the casino? Surprisingly, I've never played a table game in my life. They're so intimidating.
Oh, when Johnny comes, Minty, we're playing Baccarat. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Wait, why Baccarat? Why specifically Baccarat?
Because Johnny hates it, and it's my favorite game.
I don't know. Maybe craps or like roulette or something.
I mean, we can play craps. We know VR can't play blackjack with us. So I mean, we want it to be a group thing, and blackjack's out
of the question.
Okay,
right?
Blackjack. Okay, well, it's so intimidating.
I've small house edge, so that's not a bad game to be betting if you're playing a house game. Not at all. Not at all.
Great time. We're gonna yell. Okay. We're gonna tear up cards. We're gonna throw them. That's my thing. I think it's like you're allowed to touch cards. You're allowed to cuss. You're allowed to do whatever. If you're at a high limit block table, you can be a complete asshole, and they let you. It's weird.
That answer his question on which ones are actually beatable. Blackjack is beatable. A moron like me has proven that. You know what I mean? A $1 billion casino throws me out if I buy in for $20. How does that make sense? So the fact that I could beat it makes it beatable. The other thing, because I've tried it all, I've been going to casinos since I was 15, 16 years old. So believe me, I've tried every game trying to figure it out. That
same place, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back. Oh. Ah, man. Okay. Well. Oh, okay. I see. Well, any questions that I didn't get to ask this time around, we'll do it on the next episode. So thank you, Gianni. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you to our viewers for watching. And remember not to only hit the subscribe button for WagerTalk TV here on YouTube, but also click the little bell icon so you get notified whenever we go live or add a new video. So until next week, same time, same place, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be back. Have a great and safe week, everyone. Thank you again.